titans, a battle for global dominance. The ramifications were global. The stakes could not have been higher. Every decision, every move was scrutinized. The global economy, already fragile, braced for impact. The uncertainty was palpable. Businesses on both sides of the Pacific trembled. The ripple effects were felt far and wide. The trade war threatened to upend decades of globalization and interconnectedness. The world was at a crossroads. The world watched and waited, uncertain of what the future held. The stakes were monumental. This was a trade war unlike any other. The strategies, the stakes, the players, all were unprecedented. It was a clash of ideologies, a battle between two very different visions of the global order. The outcome was uncertain. The outcome would have profound implications for the entire world. The future of global trade hung in the balance. The trade war sent shockwaves through the American heartland. Farmers, the backbone of the nation, found themselves caught in the crossfire. China, once a voracious buyer of American soybeans and pork, slammed the door shut. Prices plummeted. Farmers struggled to stay afloat. In factories across the country, workers felt the pinch. The cost of raw materials, many imported from China, skyrocketed. Businesses were forced to raise prices or cut jobs. The trade war, intended to protect American jobs, was having the opposite effect. Public opinion was sharply divided. Some applauded Trump's tough stance, arguing that China had been playing unfair for too long. Others worried that the trade war would backfire, hurting American businesses and consumers. The political battle lines were drawn. Democrats accused Trump of recklessness, arguing that the trade war was harming the very people he promised to help. Republicans, for the most part, stood by their man, praising his determination to stand up to China. China refused to be cowed. The Middle Kingdom, with its long history and proud civilization, had faced down challenges before. This was different, a direct assault on its economic might. Yet, China would not blink. Xi Jinping, the country's powerful leader, rallied his people. This was a people's war, he declared, a fight for China's rightful place in the world. China had weapons of its own. It controlled a vast manufacturing base, producing everything from iPhones to automobiles. It held trillions of dollars in US debt, and it had the will to fight back. China retaliated in kind, slapping tariffs on American goods. It targeted products from states that were key to Trump's political base, hoping to sow discord within America itself. China also looked for alternative markets for its goods, reducing its dependence on the United States. The message from Beijing was clear. China would not be dictated to. It would chart its own course, even if it meant weathering a trade war. China's response was swift and calculated. It struck back with targeted tariffs, aiming for maximum impact on American industries and political pressure points. Soybeans, a key export from Trump-supporting states, were hit hard. So were automobiles, a symbol of American manufacturing might. But China's strategy went beyond simple retaliation. It sought to reduce its dependence on the United States, looking for alternative suppliers and markets. China forged closer ties with Europe, Russia, and other countries, seeking to build a new global trading order, one less reliant on the United States. China also doubled down on its own technological development. It poured billions into artificial intelligence, robotics, and other cutting-edge industries. The goal was clear: to become a global leader in innovation, reducing its reliance on American technology. China's economy, while feeling the strain, proved remarkably resilient. Its vast domestic market provided a buffer against the worst effects of the trade war. And its government, unburdened by the need to win elections, could take a long-term view. Section 5, the hawks circle American voices demanding tougher action. Within the United States, a chorus of hawkish voices urged Trump to stay the course, even to escalate the conflict. These voices were not just from political figures but also from influential business leaders and media personalities. They argued that China had been gaming the system for years, stealing intellectual property, manipulating its currency, and flooding the world with cheap goods. This, they claimed, was not just an economic issue but a matter of national security. Kevin O'Leary, the blunt-talking businessman and television personality, became a vocal advocate for a hard line on China. He frequently appeared on television, making the case that America needed to stand firm. He argued that the trade war was a necessary evil, a price worth paying to force China to change its ways. According to O'Leary, the long-term benefits would outweigh the short-term economic pain. Peter Navarro, a hardline trade advisor within the Trump administration, echoed these sentiments. He was a staunch believer that aggressive measures were essential. He painted a picture of a China bent on global domination, a threat that had to be confronted head-on. Navarro's rhetoric was often stark and uncompromising. These voices found a receptive audience among those who felt that China had been given a free pass for too long. Many Americans were frustrated with the status quo and wanted decisive action. They argued that previous administrations had been too soft on China, allowing it to become an economic juggernaut that threatened American prosperity and security. The call for tougher action resonated deeply with a significant portion of the American public. Section 6. Global markets tremble. The economic fallout of the trade war. The trade war sent shockwaves through the global economy. Stock markets, those barometers of investor confidence, gyrated wildly. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, a key indicator of the health of the American stock market, experienced its share of roller coaster rides. Businesses around the world felt the pinch. Supply chains, those intricate networks that had come to define the globalized economy, were disrupted. Companies struggled to adjust to the new reality of tariffs and trade barriers. The International Monetary Fund, a global organization tasked with promoting economic stability, warned that the trade war posed a serious threat to global growth. The trade war also fueled uncertainty and anxiety. Businesses held back on investments, unsure of what the future held. Consumers tightened their belts, worried about the impact on their wallets. The global economy, already fragile, teetered on the brink. Section 7. Can the trade war be won? Uncertainties and potential outcomes. As the trade war dragged on, a fundamental question arose: could it be won? The stakes were high and the world watched closely. And if so, what would victory look like? Would it be a clear-cut win, or a series of compromises? The answer was far from clear. The complexities of global trade made it difficult to predict. Both sides dug in, seemingly prepared for a protracted struggle. The economic and political costs were mounting. Some analysts argued that the trade war could not be won, at least not in the traditional sense. They believed it was a lose-lose situation. They pointed out that both sides had too much to lose. The interdependence of the two economies was undeniable. The United States needed China as a market for its goods and a source of cheap imports. This relationship was crucial for many American businesses. China needed access to American technology and investment. This was vital for its continued growth and development. Others believed that the trade war was about more than just economics. It was a clash of ideologies and visions for the future. It was a battle for global influence and technological dominance. The stakes were not just economic but geopolitical. In this view, there could be no compromise. The conflict was seen as a zero-sum game. One side had to prevail. The question was, at what cost? The potential outcomes of the trade war were numerous and varied. Each scenario carried its own set of risks and rewards. A negotiated settlement, while unlikely, was still possible. Diplomacy could still play a role in resolving the conflict. Both sides could agree to roll back tariffs and address some of their underlying concerns. This would require a significant shift in strategy. However, such an agreement would require significant concessions from both sides. The path to resolution was fraught with challenges. Section 8. Beyond tariffs. The broader geopolitical chessboard. The trade war was just one piece in a much larger geopolitical puzzle. The United States and China were locked in a struggle for global influence, vying for economic, technological, and military supremacy. The South China Sea, a strategically important waterway, emerged as a flashpoint. China claimed sovereignty over most of the sea, despite competing claims from neighboring countries. The United States, seeking to maintain freedom of navigation in the region, challenged China's assertive actions. Taiwan, a self-governing island that China considered a breakaway province, was another source of tension. The United States had long provided Taiwan with military support, much to China's ire. The trade war threatened to further escalate tensions over Taiwan. The rivalry between the United States and China extended to the realm of technology. Both countries poured billions into developing artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and other cutting-edge technologies. The race for technological dominance had profound implications for economic and military power. Section 9. A world on edge. The trade war's impact on global stability. The trade war between the United States and China cast a long shadow over the world. It threatened to unravel the rules-based trading system that had underpinned global prosperity for decades. The trade war also fueled uncertainty and instability. Businesses around the world delayed investments, unsure of what the future held. Consumers tightened their belts, worried about the impact on their wallets. The trade war had the potential to reshape the global order. It could lead to a more fragmented world, with the United States and China leading competing blocs of countries. This would have profound implications for everything from trade to security. The world watched and waited, hoping for a resolution to the trade war. But one thing was clear: the stakes were high, and the outcome would have far-reaching consequences.